Welcome to MED-MYSTIFY. One of the most influential discoveries in food and medicine happened because a researcher went to dinner with dirty hands. The year was 1879. At Johns Hopkins University, chemists were experimenting with harsh, often dangerous industrial materials in the pursuit of new compounds. Among them was Constantin Fahlberg. His work involved analyzing coal tar, a thick, toxic byproduct of the coal industry. After a long session in the lab, Fahlberg left for dinner. He was so absorbed in his work that he skipped a basic step of hygiene and sat down to eat without washing the chemical residue from his skin. He picked up a piece of bread, but as he took a bite, he noticed something impossible. The crust tasted intensely, inexplicably sweet, a sharp contrast to the bitter, toxic substances he had been handling all day. Fahlberg realized the taste wasn't coming from the bread, but from the dust on his fingers. He had inadvertently transferred a laboratory compound to his food. He returned to his lab to trace the reaction. He found that by processing coal tar, he had isolated a compound known as benzoic sulfamide. Recognizing the potential of a substance hundreds of times sweeter than sugar, he patented the discovery and named it saccharin. At the time, the world relied entirely on natural sugar, a crop that was expensive to harvest and vulnerable to weather. This laboratory byproduct offered a stable synthetic alternative that didn't require a single acre of farmland. Saccharin's rise from a laboratory curiosity to a global staple was accelerated by the massive supply chain disruptions of the world wars. Governments were forced to implement strict civilian rationing. Standard sugar became a rare luxury, with families limited to just 1 pound per week. These restrictions pushed consumers to find other ways to sweeten their food, and the synthetic powder from Fahlberg's lab became the primary substitute. Beyond wartime necessity, the compound provided a medical solution for diabetics. Because the body doesn't metabolize it, patients could finally enjoy sweet flavors without the dangerous spikes in blood sugar caused by glucose. This medical utility eventually gave rise to the modern diet industry, making calorie counting a standard part of weight management. By the mid-20th century, what began as a lab accident had become a critical tool for public health and a cornerstone of the food supply. That reputation was nearly destroyed in the 1970s, when new scientific studies reported a link between saccharin and bladder cancer in laboratory rats. However, the methodology was extreme. As this chart shows, the rats were fed doses of saccharin that were hundreds of times higher than any human would ever realistically consume. Despite the disproportionate testing, the news triggered a national panic and a swift regulatory response from health authorities. Mandatory warning labels appeared on every packet. Overnight, the substance that had helped diabetics for decades was rebranded as a potential carcinogen. It took years of follow-up research to understand why the initial rat studies were so misleading. Biologists discovered rats have unique urine chemistry. High sodium from the sweetener forms microscopic crystals that irritate their bladders, causing tumors. Humans lack this mechanism entirely. In our systems, the compound remains dissolved and passes harmlessly through the body without physical damage. With this evidence, the scientific consensus shifted. Saccharin was officially removed from the list of carcinogens, and the FDA warning labels were retired. Updated research eventually corrected the errors of the past, confirming the safety of the compound and restoring its place in the market. The survival of saccharin established the commercial path for every artificial sweetener that followed. Modern successors like aspartame, sucralose, and stevia all exist because of the foundation laid by Fahlberg's unwashed hands. Today, these compounds support a multi-billion-dollar industry, serving millions of people who need to manage their sugar intake for medical or personal health reasons. Significant discoveries aren't always the result of a meticulous plan. Often, they occur because an observant person noticed a detail that didn't fit the expected pattern. After all, in the world of science, some of the most important steps forward begin with a simple mistake. If you like the video, then like, subscribe, and share for such more informative videos.